Pheno here with another top 8 deck profile from the World Championships of Osaka, and I'm here with Mr. Noah Beygelman, who, what'd you play this weekend?
Played Viserai Runeblood.
Let's take a peek at your deck list.
Sure. So to start, I got pretty lucky with my entry pack and pulled the Viserai himself. So here's the man and his rune chants. I'll get started with the equipment. So firstly, I played these 2 chests. I'm a 2-neck crutcher, so I basically play this in every matchup that I can. This only comes in when I'm playing into Acilio or if I'm playing into Dio and trying to fatigue them. Then I played 2 different shoes. This is $100 Iron Rot. I use the ability probably every other match, and when I do, it's super clutch. But into Runeblade matchups as well as Wizards, I play the Arcane Barrier shoes, and I don't find that I miss the Spellbound Creepers a lot, but it's nice to have if you want a proactive option. Then I just played 1 glove, so I didn't play the Vexing Quill hand because I had the Null Rune Boots as my AB1 into Runeblade matchups. I think the hand fixing options and the 3 block is just too important. And then I also just played 1 hat. I didn't respect Kano, so this is the hat that kind of is the reason to play Viserai, in my opinion. And then I also just played the 1 weapon, Reaping Blade. The second line of text is finally relevant, and 1 resource for 3 damage is pretty strong.
All right, let's get into the main deck.
Yep. So here's my go again attacks. I think these are one of the strong parts of the Viserai deck now, in that they let you play under Warmongers. So there's 15 of them. 6 Rune Rager Swarm, 6 Rune Flash, and Swarming. If you have an incantation in play, you can fully play your hand under Warmongers, which is really nice. Also enables me to play Warmongers myself. And they're all 3 blocks if you want to be defensive in a matchup. I think they're just really core cards to the Viserai game plan. And even though these have a 3, you're almost never pitching when you play this deck. These are going to cost 0. So these are the core go again attack, 15 of those. Then kind of the finishers, the payoffs, are 6 amplifies as well as 2 ninth blades. So these are the non-go again attacks where you're either going to want to have a creepers line or kind of just block most of your hand and then play these for value at the end of the chain instead of swinging the weapon. And yeah, these are just ridiculously above rate if you're able to get the discounts off. Then the final attack is just 2 snuff outs. So this I don't view as a core card. It just comes in matchups where they don't have a lot of armor, or I can chew through their armor with the first one and cast the second one, or chew through their armor with a succumb, something like this. And it's always just a card that blocks 3 in worst case scenario. Next are my really powerful non-attacks that lose out to Warmongers. I tried to minimize these as much as possible, so you can see there's only 10 here. I think it's probably standard in Viserai list to play somewhat more than this. I just wanted to keep this to a minimum and not even run all of these in matchups where they could Warmongers me. Like I may not even play all the Revels, for example. Losing the Warmonger sucks. So making the deck be able to function by calling peace and not have a hand of non-attacks, call peace, and not be able to play it all out is really effective. And I didn't think that Rattlebones was a core card to the game plan, since this 2 is a real 2. You actually have to pitch to play this card. This 1 is a fake 1. These basically are all just cards that you play for free. I don't really want to be pitching cards, so I don't always have the Rattlebones in. This is kind of the non-attacks you have to play to maintain consistency, but not super excited. Then the non-attacks that are super exciting. Runeblood Barrier. Don't worry, you don't actually play this card. Arcane Cussing and 2 Blessing of Occult. So these are all cards you want to exist in your deck because you need to play this very powerful card. It's not a Galaxia. I view this card as like super core. It's kind of the reasoning to play Viserai with Warmongers as well as against Warmongers, because you can consistently call peace, set up a bunch of rune chants, which is like doing theoretical damage while under Warmongers. So I think this package is really strong, and you can see also in the top 8 game being able to go Galaxia for cussing to be able to have a super wide turn with a bunch of rune chants, and a lot of aggro decks this format can't really stop enough rune chants to block out a cussing. So super strong.
Something I'm actually just now thinking about as we're talking about that too, is you get a bit of implied value by playing a setup turn under the Warmongers, because a lot of the times your opponent's going to call a mode and their deck is a mix of cards.
Yeah.
So they kind of wanted a chance to block with some of their cards because the Warmongers might brick them. And you not giving them a chance to block makes the Warmongers detrimental text to them sometimes.
Exactly. Yep. They can't block, but they're also taking the theoretical damage because I'm putting Rune Chants on the board. As well, Blessing of Occult has some pretty cool applications where it creating 3 Rune Chants can turn on cards like Swarming as well as Rune Rager Swarm without actually having to play a non-attack or pitch to your gloves. It's pretty cool. So that's these. Then some more cards that are great under Warmongers are the Malefics, as well as Read the Runes and Deadwood Dirge. So these are going to be your primary ways of playing the attacks that get discounted, just stockpiling a bunch of Rune Chants. And of course, the staple way to stockpile the most Rune Chants is Mordred Tide. So these, I think, are just kind of the essential Rune Chant stacking pieces that I play into basically every matchup. The only potentially cuttable ones are the yellow Malefics, but the rest are kind of just core cards to this game plan. Then just a consistency, blue card is Become the Arc Knight. Search is what you need in the matchups where you want to stack up a bunch of Rune Chants, another card that's good under Warmongers, but most of the time you're using it for the blue or the 3-block. Then the pretty unconventional card in a Viserai deck is Warmonger's Diplomacy. So the genesis for playing this card was that we wanted something to do into Dio that was proactive when we were trying to fatigue them. Basically, this card is just anti-Pot of Greed. You play this card, you're disabling their ability to play an item off the top, as well as draw off of Cerebellums, High Octane, System Reset, all that kind of stuff. Essentially just time walking them out of one key mechanic of the game. And I was able to just run this as a blue main deck card since it's a blue non-attack to help with the non-attack ratios for Face Purgatory, as well as a card that blocks 3 in general. So yeah, I would continue to play this card since I don't think there's really any other good blues you could play like Sift or something, but it's never a card that you feel good casting. So
it's very reminiscent of playing the floodgates in Yu-Gi-Oh! In the deck that your deck technically loses to that floodgate.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just a card that also can put some spook factor on your opponent, right? They see you block with it or pitch it, they're kind of like anticipating it may be a card they have to play around for the rest of the game when maybe your intention is not even to cast it in the matchup. So then the last kind of like tech card, this doesn't come in all matchups. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. When you want it, it's just Poison the Well. Then the last package here is the defensive cards. So there's a lot of decks in the meta right now, especially Aurora, where they're trying to overwhelm you by attacking with a lot of 4 breakpoints. And so having a 4 to be able to put in front of their 4 is a lot of value on defense because you're typically going above rate on offense. So being able to also have the versatility to go above rate on defense, I think lends yourself or gives yourself a greater chance to win because they only have so many power cards. If you can kind of stuff their CLV turns, stuff their burn up shock turns, block snatches, things like that, it gives you a pretty big edge into Aurora, who I think was one of the more popular decks over the weekend. And in general, reduced to Rune Chant just being like a 0 for 5 on defense is very powerful.
All right, so why did you decide to play Viserai for this event?
I thought he had a really good place in the meta. I anticipated mostly Auroras, some Enigmas, either the CYB variant or the normal variant. And I thought that with this game plan, we could kind of coin flip into Dio. If they weren't familiar with the matchup, we'd be pretty favored. If they were, I mean, that means I'm probably in top cut and I can figure it out from there.
What do you think about this meta overall right now?
I'm a huge fan. I think we saw a bunch of different decks in Top of Worlds, as well as Zen, a deck that wasn't even represented in Top 8, won the calling. So I think there's so many strategies people can play, and that makes for a pretty healthy metagame, in my opinion. Any
changes you think you make to the list after this weekend?
I think we may have to reevaluate our game plan into Dio now that this list is exposed and said, okay, it's possible to fatigue now. Now they have to have a game plan, and it's kind of, adapting to the changes that they make. We just kind of keep evolving the deck. So no specific cards right now that I would change, but definitely looking to keep improving it.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you so much for the deck profile. And we're going to have some more content coming up. We're going to be exploring the deck building choices with the man himself, Yuan G. Lee, who helped build the deck with Noah. That's going to be more of a long form video coming up shortly. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.